Hi friends and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Hebert and this is where I share my insights, and today I'm talking about living without a plan B. That's right. No just in case, no added security, no alternate plan, no side hustle. I'm talking about taking a launch into something you know you're supposed to do, like quit a job or leave a marriage or something like that, and doing so with no foresight into a schematic that might resemble a plan B. There is only one plan, and it's what you're doing now. So if you're interested in living without a plan B, let's talk about the mechanics of the only way to live with no plan at all. I understand the mentality that we have to have some kind of safety net. That is until you realize that safety is not an external phenomenon, and that safety cannot come in the form of what you have in the bank. Because if happiness cannot be purchased with money, then the sense of safetyness cannot be purchased with money. Because the question would be, how much does it cost to feel safe? And I don't think it costs anything to feel safe. I think safety is an inherent knowledge built in dealing with your trust issues. We don't get to sign a prenuptial agreement with life. We don't get to bargain with life. And when I say life, I have to define what I mean. We have a lot of people on the internet saying the universe helps you, the universe provides, or life is always working, or life is good to us, or life is abundant. Jesus said, I am the life, which means I am the life. I am the way and I am the truth. That does not belong to any singular individual. So we are fooling ourselves with rainy day funds, with plan Bs for our life. And we often will say stuff like, well, if this doesn't work out, I can do this and this and this. And we're always trying to scheme and get ahead of what essentially cannot be gotten ahead of. But that is essentially who we are. The how-to is secretly folded like origami. Each person has this origami folded into them in a very circuitous and strange way called how to. And your entire life is like unfolding origami. You don't know how it's folded, but you know how it's unfolding. And that's what learning is, essentially. Learning is realizing who you are, realizing that you know how to do this inherently. Learning is not something that comes from the outside. Learning is something that is unfolding on the inside. And that's called evolution. But evolution is the unwinding of something called involvement. So you have evolution and evolving and involving. So everything that you are in terms of potentiality is invaginated into a puzzle, and that you are unraveling everything you'll ever do, ever say, ever will be. You cannot get ahead of this unraveling. You can't make it go faster. You cannot reverse it. It won't budge if you believe that you have something called voluntary control. Remember, it's involved. It's involuntary. And what appears as voluntary is just an unfolding of this circuitous thing called how to. And everybody's how to is different. So I cannot explain to you how to become spiritually evolved. If you feel like there's some kind of flowering and understanding of your consciousness, this is happening on its own, and you are simply just noticing this. See, everything in the world is seed form, and it blossoms and flowers on its own. You can't frustrate this process. You can't make this process happen, and you can't reverse engineer it. Because just like your DNA, your path, your circuit is just as uncopyable as mine. So anybody who is purporting to tell you a how-to is basically telling you that it is happening because there's no schematic. I can't reverse engineer this process. Because like I said, your origami is folded in differently than my origami. And I'm unfolding mine. I'm not doing that with any kind of voluntary picture or voluntary action. I'm just noticing my life blossoming and unfolding in these weird ways. And the path that I get to my dreams and goals and desires is as unique as my string of DNA. So how to is very, very illusory. A lot of spiritual teachers say, okay, the path to spiritual enlightenment is to stop thinking. Well, nobody has ever successfully described how to stop thinking. So we develop all these methods and this sort of thing, and they don't work. Affirmations don't work. You can say, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. But rich, you will feel that is a lie until your spirit is ready to accept that you're rich. And you align with it. And it just happens. You happen to wake up from this daze. So spiritual awakening is a lot like waking up in the morning. We naturally wake up. You will naturally come to this understanding of who you are. So success is inevitable. Now this is important to understand. The word inevitable means that you can't avoid it. And most of us are looking for evidence. We're looking for evidence before we do anything, when success is inevitable. It requires no evidence. And so that word videre means to see. And so Jesus understood this conversion process when Thomas was doubting whether or not he actually rose from the dead. I'm not saying he did or not. I'm not a Christian, but these very wise words. He says, blessed are those who believe and have not seen. That's inevitable success. You do not see, but you move and you act into the unknown, because what you see with your eyes does not necessarily represent what's real or true. The truth is this blind trust that builds up over time as your involving becomes evolving. So every person is destined to remember who they are. And that's what learning is. It's remembering. It's like reading a book, and it's all, to me, spiritual awakening is deja vu. It's just remembering more and more and more and more and more of who you are. And the process seems endless. But the more you realize about your true nature, the more you realize you are unconditional love, you are limitless supply, you are immune to your circumstance. Even if the body is ill, you are complete and whole, and even in death, you live on. Your destiny is to remember that you are infinite, powerful, holy, capable. You name it. You will become more and more and more of who you are. And this is an involuntary process that unflowers and unfolds on its own. So, Plan B is an illusion of safety. If you put your sense of safety on a bank account, a person, a condition, a job, anything outside of yourself, it falls apart. Plan B never works. Plan B never makes you feel safe. Starting a side hustle before you quit your job, that sort of thing. You can't get ahead of reality. You can never get ahead of it. You can't scheme to protect yourself. You can't pad yourself from whatever is enfolded in you. Now, is it all predestined and done already? I think so. But that doesn't make it any less surprising as it happens. In the same ways that this flowering angel trumpet bush here produces flowers, each one is different. It happens on its own time. Sometimes it does not bloom. But that doesn't mean it wasn't meant to, or it's moving too slowly. Success is inevitable, and you can't procrastinate. You can't push it. Procrastination is this fear that you're going to have to do it at the last minute, or you're going to run out of time. All that stuff is part of the Plan B mentality. Get to it later or whatever. Even if you go to the grave and you have all these incomplete things on your checklist, that doesn't mean that the things on your checklist were supposed to happen or were going to happen. Even if you live to be 45 years old, that's not a life cut short. The universe is always present moment, now. It doesn't seem that time really is relative to anything. If Beethoven wrote 9 symphonies, was he meant to write 14 symphonies? And were we cheated out of the last 5 symphonies? I just don't see it that way. Plan B is also feeling like you're running out of time. This feeling that you can get ahead of reality, which is unseen. It's just that you become aligned with the inevitability of success. You get out of the way by stopping all this bullshit Plan B stuff, and the how-to is happening now. What you are doing now is what's meant to be, what is, whatever. Plan B is born out of an illusion that something is wrong with Plan A, the one and only plan. I am the way. And trust is knowing that what you're doing now is what you are to do. There is no, I need to get this done. I have to finish this. There's none of that. Plan A has all the time in the world, all the resources in the world, all the possibilities in the world. Plan B is the foolish person who tries to scheme and get ahead of something that will not budge. The unfolding process of the invaginated potentiality that is within you, that seems to be frustrated by something called the ego. The ego hasn't a prayer over reality unfolding. The ego is a pretense of stoppage and frustration and suppression. That is an illusion of Plan B around the one and only will of the universe, which is what you're doing now. To think how ludicrous it would be that you're smarter than the universe, but that you are the universe, remembering who the universe is. That's all this is. It's a journey back home that's unfolding in a beautiful way, in a surprising way. And it's a relaxed thing, effortless. Ditch your Plan B and pick up on the frequencies of what you are to do now, which is what you are doing now, watching a video by Ryan Hebert. And I don't know who Ryan Hebert is, and I don't know where these words come from, and I have no Plan B. I have ditched my own will and became totally willing. And all of that was a spontaneous happening, part of my story that unfolded and was already written. I'm just discovering it as if I didn't know it was already there within me. And that's what makes it surprising. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you appreciated these insights. My blog is called mymorningmotivator.com, and we'll see you next time.